Donkey Kong Country is one of the greatest games Nintendo has ever made. I know I don't normally give an opinion this early into the review, but it's Donkey Kong, so boom. With Rareware at the helm of development, this game managed to revitalize the flagship ape with an incredible dose of 90s flair, as well as kicking off one of the best platforming franchises in history. Before I go any further, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when I upload, leave a like, and comment any games you'd like to see me review in the future. Let's get into it. In Donkey Kong Country, the Kremlings steal Donkey Kong's banana hoard. That's it. That's the story. While it's simple, it isn't the main draw of the game. Instead, the story is told through the world itself, the personalities of the Kremlings and Kongs, and the immersive presentation. It's a testament to their design that when I was younger, I used to have nightmares about the Kremlings. Meanwhile, the Kongs we see here are the iterations that would remain going forward. The original characters from Donkey Kong were fine, but these are just so iconic and distinctive from, just being big monkeys. This is clear from the opening cutscene with Cranky Kong chilling on the old Donkey Kong set when Donkey Kong bursts in with a boombox and just commits fucking elder abuse. Morally reprehensible, sure, but it's cool as hell. Entering the first level, you're given control over the tag team of DK and Diddy Kong. Diddy is noticeably more athletic in terms of his jumping and speed capabilities, whilst DK is far stronger and more adept at handling tougher enemies. This mechanic is genius because the levels will throw challenges at you for which one or the other is clearly better suited. I never came across anything that was downright impossible without one, but things can get much harder without having access to both. It incentivizes you to use caution and split-second decision making in order to keep the two alive. And keep in mind that that's easier said than done. Donkey Kong Country doesn't start out super difficult, but as you progress, there's definitely some spikes in difficulty. For the most part, this isn't accomplished through cheat means, but rather an incredible understanding of level design that forces the player to adapt and make trial and error their friend. There's such a wide variety of levels and level types here, and I honestly can't name a level anything less than great. The outdoorsy platforming sections, the really ambient underwater levels, the more challenging cave-based platforming areas, adrenaline-pumping minecart levels, and so many more. At times, these strive for near perfection on the player's part, but in turn, they reward this with some of the purest and most thought-out level layouts I've ever seen. This is especially apparent when it comes to the meticulously placed secrets scattered all over these already sophisticated locales. There's so many of these, but including a completion percentage on the file select menu really rewards the player for their efforts in tracking all of them down. The secret rooms are nifty, but the real joy comes in scouring the stages for their locations. Sometimes this can, become a little ridiculous and ask for leaps of faith, particularly in uncovering the location of the Kong letters. These offer you a 1-up if you can find all 4 in a given stage. But if you're losing a life to get just one, it does really throw into question whether this hunt is actually worth it, especially when you realize that these don't actually contribute to your completion percentage. This is one of a few ways to get 1-ups here though, and the others are far more worthwhile. Collecting 100 bananas will grant you a life, as will bouncing on the heads of several enemies in succession. The latter is already incentivized by the satisfaction you get by just jumping on the enemies in this game. The sound it makes, as well as the bounce it gives, make this otherwise fairly standard element addictive. Another great way of obtaining 1-ups are the Animal Pal bonus rooms. These are really fun to speed around and just collect as many of the tokens as you can before the timer runs out. And I haven't mentioned it thus far, but using the Animal Pals during the standard levels is so fun, and all of them are unique and amazing with regards to their movement capabilities. With regard to 1-ups, it's worth remembering that the game can get pretty difficult, and as such, having a few extra 1-ups can often be an absolute necessity. Thankfully, there's a decent amount of save points around the world map, so you won't have to start the game all over again. But getting a game over is definitely a major setback to your progression, and actually not all that hard to end up doing. Most of the time, this is fair and results from a fault on the player's part, but sometimes it does just come down to enemy that was off screen kills you the second you go right. The challenge level of this game is part of its identity, but I think that zooming the camera out so that the characters don't take up so much of the screen could have really helped to alleviate a lot of these bullshit deaths. Just as integral to this game's classic status are its 3D rendered graphics. These were a huge gamble, but even today they still look as good as they ever had. Every character is expressive, every platform feels naturalistic, weather such as snow obscures your vision but not in an unfair way, and the coloring feels so real and intriguing. Combining a fairly organic color palette with the stylized characters could easily have gone wrong, but strong art direction made sure this wasn't the case. This also helps the environment of each level to age incredibly well and maintain an impressive sense of vibrancy and realism. With all of these elements alone, Donkey Kong Country realistically would have already secured masterpiece status. It has all the makings of an incredible platform. But that wasn't enough. This game also had to have one of the best soundtracks, not only in Nintendo, not only in gaming, but in recorded human history. Like, if you don't like the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack, then I genuinely don't think you have a right to speak on anything ever again. Every track is tailor-made to the experience unfolding on screen, and there's such a sprawling yet rambunctious energy to every one of them. But there's stuff also like the water areas, where the sound makes you feel like you're being hugged by the universe itself. Meanwhile, the soundscape of the snow areas feels ominously sparse, almost as if it's trying to deter you from venturing onwards. And with some levels getting pretty damn tough, sometimes the only thing that keeps you alive is wanting to hear the music of the stage unfold just a little further. The soundtrack's composer, David Wise, didn't just create a video game soundtrack, but rather a reflection of the levels themselves. It progresses just as much as they do, and hearing it unfold is as much a treat as playing the levels themselves. As I said at the beginning of the video, Donkey Kong Country is one of the greatest games Nintendo has ever made. Rareware's stewardship and David Wise's masterful soundtrack composition create a unified and immersive platforming experience that almost 30 years later could still go toe-to-toe with some of its indie descendants. It's quintessentially 90s in aesthetic, and its bold visual style also helps it to stand out from anything else in existence. Donkey Kong Country stands as a masterclass in game design and has more than earned its 8 out of 10 rating from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Donkey Kong Country. If you did, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications whenever I upload, as well as liking and commenting your thoughts on my review as well as the game. See you all in the next one.